She was the maid they all mocked, the poor girl from the village they thought was stealing his fortune. But when the billionaire groom revealed her secret at the altar, the entire world fell silent. This is not a Cinderella story. It is a story of a queen returning to her throne. The air in the grand ballroom of the Echo Hotels and Suites was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and anticipation. Crystal chandeliers cast a golden glow over Lagos's elite, a sea of vibrant aso-ebi and tailored suits. Flashbulbs popped like a constellation of stars, each one capturing the image of Jaden Adebayo, Nigeria's most eligible billionaire, standing at the ornate altar. He was the nation's golden boy, a tech visionary who had built an empire from the ground up, a man whose smile could launch 1,000 business deals and whose frown could crash stocks. For years, women across the continent had dreamed of this day, of being the one to stand beside him, to share his name and his legacy. The orchestra swelled, the massive double doors at the end of the velvet carpet swung open, and a collective, sharp gasp sucked all the oxygen from the room. There she was, but she was all wrong. This was not Kioma, the famous Nollywood actress and socialite everyone had expected. This was not a daughter of a rival billionaire or a political dynasty. This was Amira. Her gown was not a flown-in creation from Paris or Milan. It was a beautifully simple, though visibly inexpensive, traditional Iro and buba made from authentic indigo-dyed Adir fabric. She looked normal, humble, and utterly, terrifyingly out of place. The nerves were visible in the slight tremble of her hands as she clutched a small bouquet of local flowers, her eyes scanning the crowd of stunned, silent faces. Then the whispers began, sharp and venomous, slithering through the room like snakes. "Kai!" Jaden's mother, a formidable socialite draped in miles of expensive lace and coral beads, hissed to her sister, "This one way him bring, Nawao. Has Juju entered my son's eyes? A common cleaner? She has finished our family name today." Near the front, Kioma, Jaden's ex-fiancé, let out a cold, theatrical laugh, already holding her phone up to record the spectacle for her millions of followers. "Look at this Oshisko," she muttered loud enough for her section to hear. "From cleaning my Louboutins to stealing my husband. What kind of blackmail is this? She must have given him something strong." A portly man in an over-tight agbada, a key member of Jaden's board, shook his head in disgust. The great Jaden Adebayo has finally lost his mind. A maid for a wife. His stock will crash by morning. We are finished. Jaden heard it all. He saw the disdain on the faces of his friends, the mockery in the eyes of his business associates, the sheer betrayal radiating from his family. But his gaze was fixed only on Amira. He saw the pain and humiliation clouding her beautiful eyes, the slight slump in her shoulders, as if the weight of their collective scorn was a physical burden. He felt her fingers tighten around his. In that moment, he knew the performance was over. He took the microphone from the confused pastor, his voice calm yet firm, cut through the cacophony of insults like a knife. "Before I say I do," he began, his voice echoing in the suddenly quiet hall, "and before all of you finish judging with your eyes, you will all know who Amira Okafor truly is. The woman you see is not the woman she is." Cut to black. 6 months earlier, the silence in Jaden's Ikoyi penthouse was of a different kind. A sterile, expensive silence broken only by the hum of servers and the whisper of the air conditioning. Amira moved through the vast, minimalist space like a ghost, her rubber-soled shoes making no sound on the polished marble. She was dusting a grotesquely expensive sculpture when Jaden stormed in, barking orders into his phone. "I don't care what it takes, Femi. That contract is worth 5 billion naira. If those idiots on the board can't see that, then maybe they need to be replaced." He slammed the phone down on his desk, running a hand over his face in exhaustion. He barely registered Amira's presence. She was part of the furniture, an appliance that kept his world clean. Yet subconsciously, he had begun to notice anomalies. The way his chaotic bookshelf was now perfectly organized by genre and author. The way his smart home system, which his engineers constantly fumbled with, seemed to run smoother on the days she cleaned. Once he'd even seen an old weathered copy of C++ for Engineers peeking out from her cleaning cart. It was a bizarre contradiction that nagged at the edges of his programmer's mind. The incident happened on a night when a tropical storm lashed against the floor-to-ceiling windows. Jaden was overseeing a critical security patch for his company's flagship AI, Etutu. Suddenly, the system froze. Red warning lights flashed across every screen. A cyber intrusion alert blared through the penthouse, a coordinated attack from a rival corporation. Panic ensued. His engineers, patched in from their homes, were frantic and useless, their voices tinny and panicked through the speakerphone. "Sir, we've lost root access. The mainframe is not responding. They're going to breach the financial server." Jaden was typing furiously, sweat beading on his forehead. He was losing it. Everything he'd built was about to crumble because of a flaw he couldn't see. In the chaos, he didn't notice Amira stop her mopping and watch the cascade of error codes on his main monitor. Her brow was furrowed, not in confusion, but in concentration. Then, she did the unthinkable. She walked calmly to the central console, gently moved Jaden's hands away from the keyboard, and her fingers began to fly. She bypassed the frozen graphical interface, pulling up a stark black command prompt. Lines of code, complex and elegant, streamered across the screen, an algorithm he didn't recognize. "What are you doing?" he yelled, but it was too late. With a final, decisive keystroke, she executed a root-level reboot command. The screens went black for a heart-stopping second, then flickered back to life. All systems were green. The intrusion had been halted. The silence that returned was deafening. Jaden stared at her, his mind reeling. The maid, the quiet, invisible girl. She had just done in 10 seconds what his entire highly paid team could not. "How did you—" he stammered, his voice a whisper. "The flaw was in the authentication protocol," she said, her voice soft but steady. It was elementary. She turned to leave, to fade back into the walls. "Stop," Jaden commanded, his curiosity now a burning fire. He moved to block her path. "That was not elementary. That was a level of coding I've only seen from MIT postgrads. Who are you?" The question hung in the air between them, heavy and profound. The woman standing before him was no longer a maid. She was a mystery, and Jaden Adebayo, a man who solved complex problems for a living, was now determined to solve her. The stunned silence in the wedding hall was palpable, a physical weight pressing down on the glittering assembly. Jaden's words, "Before I say I do, you will all know who Amira Okafor truly is," had sucked the malice right out of the air, replacing it with a bewildered, captive anticipation. All eyes were fixed on him, waiting for the truth that would shatter their preconceived world. But before he could continue, the story demands we return to the moment his own world was shattered and his choice was made. After the night Amira saved his company from the cyber attack, Jaden could not let the mystery rest. He began showing up at his penthouse at odd hours, finding excuses to be there during her shifts. He asked careful, probing questions about technology, about philosophy, about Lagos. Her answers were always measured, insightful, and hinted at a deep, formal education. The final piece of the puzzle came when he followed her home one evening, driven by an obsession he couldn't explain. Her home was not in the cramped quarters of a live-in staff building, but a modest, neat apartment in Surulere, filled floor-to-ceiling with books. Not just any books, advanced texts on quantum computing, robotics, and artificial intelligence, stacked beside legal folders and petitions. Confronted amidst the evidence of her true intellect, the dam of Amira's composure broke. Tears she had held back for years finally fell. "My name," she whispered, the confession feeling like both a defeat and a liberation, "is Amina Okafor." The name struck Jaden like a physical blow. Dr. Chijioke Okafor was a legend at the University of Lagos, a man Jaden's own professors had spoken of with reverent awe. He was the pioneer of modern Nigerian AI. "Your father," Amira continued, her voice trembling with a decade of pent-up grief and anger. "My father developed a revolutionary fintech security algorithm. Chief Adebayo wanted it. When my father refused to hand it over, he was framed for massive fraud. Your father's contacts in the EFCC leaked fake evidence to the press. The public turned on him overnight. The big man destroyed the brilliant professor. Our assets were seized. My father was sent to Kirikiri, and I was at MIT. My scholarship was tied to his reputation. My visa was revoked. My future was erased. I came back to Nigeria, changed my name, and became a ghost to care for my mother and fight for my father from the shadows." Jaden felt the foundations of his life crumble. The father he had revered, whose legacy he was supposedly upholding, was a thief and a corrupt monster. The empire he was so proud of was built on the ruined life of an innocent man and his brilliant daughter. He looked at Amira, not with pity, but with a staggering, humbling awe. She had every reason to hate him, to destroy him, yet she had saved him. "All this time," he breathed, "and you never sought revenge?" This revelation marked the beginning of their secret partnership. By day, she was still Amira the maid, invisible to the sneering executives and the gossiping staff. By night, she was Amina Okafor, Jaden's secret weapon and strategic partner. Using her profound understanding of the very systems his father had stolen, she helped him fortify his company's digital infrastructure, identifying and patching vulnerabilities his entire team had missed. As they worked, their bond deepened into something real and profound. He was falling in love not with a damsel in distress, but with a warrior queen who had chosen integrity over vengeance. But this fragile new reality could not stay hidden forever. Kioma, his ex-fiancée, her pride wounded and her instincts sharp, hired a private investigator. The PI, digging through old court records and university alumni databases, found the connection. Amira was the disgraced daughter of Dr. Okafor. Chioma, seeing not a love story but a conspiracy, went straight to Jaden's mother and the board of directors. She presented a twisted, yet terrifyingly plausible narrative. "She isn't in love with him," Kioma declared, her eyes blazing with triumphant malice. "This is a long con for revenge. She is the daughter of the man his father destroyed. She has insinuated herself into his life to bring down this company and this family from the inside. She is a black widow." The board, already nervous about Jaden's distracted leadership, panicked. They issued him an ultimatum. "Get rid of this girl and this scandal, or we will vote you out." The pressure was immense. Jaden's mother wept, begging him to see reason, to not throw away his birthright for a common criminal. For one terrible, weak moment, surrounded by the voices of everyone he had ever known, Jaden looked at Amira and felt a flicker of doubt. Had he been a fool? Was her love just an elaborate act? Seeing that flicker in his eyes was all the answer Amira needed. Heartbreak, colder and sharper than any insult, solidified her resolve. While Jaden wavered, she acted. Using a complex root key algorithm, a digital skeleton key her father had designed and which she had perfected, she breached the sealed, encrypted case files from her father's trial. There, she found it. The smoking gun. It was a chain of encrypted emails between the late Chief Adebayo and a corrupt EFCC official, explicitly outlining the plan to fabricate evidence, steal the algorithm, and make an example of Dr. Okafor. The proof was undeniable. She went to Jaden's office one last time. She placed a printed copy of the emails on his desk. "This clears my father's name," she said, her voice eerily calm, "and it condemns yours. I love you, Jaden. I think a part of me always will, but I cannot be with you if it means living a lie and silencing this truth. My father has spent 10 years in a prison cell for a crime he didn't commit. I have to choose him. I'm leaving." She turned to walk away, her heart shattering with every step. Watching her go, seeing the absolute conviction in her eyes, Jaden's moment of doubt evaporated. He saw her for what she was, the most principled, courageous person he would ever know. She was willing to walk away from everything, his love, his wealth, her own safety, for the truth. In that moment, he knew exactly who he needed to be. He ran after her, grabbing her hand. "You're not leaving," he said, his voice thick with emotion, his own choice finally irrevocably made. "We are finishing this. Together." He did not settle the matter quietly. He called a live, televised press conference that the entire nation watched. With Amira standing proudly by his side, he addressed Nigeria. "My name is Jaden Adebayo, and the empire I inherited was built on a lie." One by one, he displayed the damning emails, exposed his late father's corruption in meticulous detail, and laid bare the destruction of Dr. Okafor's life and family. He publicly apologized to Amira and her father. "The world saw a maid," he declared, his voice ringing with conviction. "I saw a genius. They saw a gold digger. I found my savior and my moral compass. She could have destroyed me, but she chose to save my company instead. She is the integrity my family name never had." The fallout was seismic. Public sympathy swung violently in their favor. Justice for Okafor began trending worldwide. Within a week, Dr. Chijioke Okafor was a free man, his name cleared. Chioma and the conspirators on the board were publicly shamed and ostracized. And so, we return to the wedding. The crowd, who had moments before been sneering, now listened in rapt, stunned silence as Jaden finished his story, laying bare every secret, every injustice, every act of courage. "So, when you ask what a billionaire is doing marrying his maid," Jaden concluded, his voice softening as he turned to look at Amira, "you are asking the wrong question. The real question is, what is a queen like her doing bestowing her grace upon a man like me? She is not my upgrade. I am hers. Today, I don't just marry the woman I love. I marry my partner, my moral compass, and the co-founder of our new venture, the Okafor Adebayo Foundation, a tech incubator dedicated to finding and funding the next generation of forgotten Nigerian geniuses, especially our brilliant girls." The silence held for a moment longer, and then it was broken by a single, slow clap. It was Jaden's mother, tears streaming down her face, her expression one of shame and overwhelming pride. She was the first to rise. Then Dr. Okafor, dignified and proud, stood beside her. One by one, like a wave of redemption, the entire congregation rose to their feet, the earlier insults replaced by a thunderous, tearful ovation that shook the very foundations of the ballroom. The insults had been forever silenced by the roaring truth. Weeks later, in a televised interview, the host asked Amira, now a global icon for women in tech and justice, "What is the lesson in your incredible story?" From the depths of despair to the pinnacle of success, Amira looked directly into the camera, a serene but powerful smile on her face, her hand clasped tightly in Jaden's. "The lesson is this: your beginning does not define your ending. Let them mock your hustle. Let them insult your struggle. Let them misunderstand your journey. Do not waste your energy explaining yourself. Focus on your truth, hold on to your integrity, and work in silence. Let your success, when it finally arrives, be the roaring thunder that silences all the noise they made when you were still the rain." She paused, her gaze piercing the lens, ensuring every viewer felt the weight of her question. "And I leave you all with one to ponder. What great thing are you hiding in your life today because you are afraid of what they will say tomorrow?"